So I've been meaning to do this for a few months now, but each time, each day, there's so much comes up to get done, and it gets postponed. So, anyways, I came home thinking that well, I'm going to have a little nap first, and then I'll do it. So I laid down, and right away I had this nightmare that the enemy was chainsawing into my ice sculptor. And so, and then I was in this cemetery, and I found this little key to a ninja bike, which I thought would get me down the road fairly quickly. And I woke up. So I took it as a warning that, the words to that old battle hymn, right? Be swift my soul to answer him, be jubilant my feet. So it's not enough to say to the Most High that I will do it. You have to say I will do it with passion and zeal and mean it. So this has got to be done, because if I don't get it done, I could get struck by lightning. Um, so why I have to do this is I was raised by a bridge builder, and he worked 22 years on the bridges, and he was only in all those 22 years he was only able to take off a few hours of work. On the day he lost his finger, they drove him into the hospital. The doctor cleaned up the mess, stitched it back out, and he was back on the job before the day was over. And the reason that he had to work so hard was my mother, bless her heart, would not let him save 2 red cents, and we had to charge groceries, and he would rather work injured than to ever say to the grocery man that he couldn't pay. And so he went to work with uh, injuries and sicknesses, and till the cancer was fairly well developed, and then that was it. He was done. He got a few months off. Uh, that weren't a lot of fun, but anyways. And then there was another time at work where this bridge had collapsed the one end, and this old truck, the compression, the engine was wore out, and it had no compression, and so it was just starting to chug back, and there was a worker behind the truck that had fallen from above, and was unconscious behind the truck, and the truck was rolling towards this worker, and so my father grabbed the skirt of the truck, the 1 ton, and the girder, and he just held onto that truck as the muscle was pulling away from the bone, and ever after there was a lump of muscle rolled up down towards the elbow joint there, and but that's the way he was. He would be torn in half before he'd let something bad happen to a coworker, and he would pay his debts come hell or high water, and he cared about family. And so whenever I encounter people that have those attributes, we talk. It's just birds of a feather. Um, and so that's why this has to get out, because this is very important to our situation today. And this is a discovery that was nothing less than a miracle. A forgotten chapter in the scripture that nobody realized what it was saying, and I wouldn't have realized it neither, except that I happened to have I was immersed in the hard sciences, but I also understand the history of science. Right back to the days of Euclid, and so it was because that I understood the history of science that I recognized what Isaiah was talking about in the 40th chapter. And then I realized that the 40th chapter was a timeline that starts with John the Baptist and ends with God's children getting wings on their back. And so, but nobody's ever noticed that this is a timeline that I know of. I've listened to a lot of people speak, a lot of ministers speak, and I've never heard any of them even hint at this. But this talks about our very day in a way that not even Daniel or the Revelation. Yeah, and so this is actually what I realized was the preamble to Daniel and the Revelation. So, yeah, I got to get this out. So I invite you, brother, to chew the cut on this. Okay, next video, please.